Thank you for joining us for 3Bs on the Law podcast, hosted by Trisha Barita, Camille Canali, and Susan Dawson. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only, not meant to provide legal advice, and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Also, remember, laws change or they differ by jurisdiction, so this is not a substitute for seeking legal counsel in your jurisdiction on the current law applicable to you.
Welcome back to 3Bs on the Law. Today we are discussing certification and procurement. This is an interesting area that if your company falls into one of the classes, you're women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned. Now there's an LGBTQ category that you might want to learn more about. What does it mean to be certified? What can that do for your business? And what is the process? So, Trisha, why don't you walk us through some of the reasons why companies consider certification?
Sure. Okay. So certification, it can be really kind of the secret sauce to if you're like a minority owned business or one of the categories that we'll be talking about more in length of really getting some of that bigger, piece of the pie business. Many corporations, industries, and government programs have these like set asides or spending requirements related to giving business to these, underutilized or these minority groups. And so if you can meet the requirements that we'll be kind of talking about generally here today, get this certification, it really lets you grow your business through these contracts with maybe larger companies, colleges, universities, and some governmental entities, including, maybe the federal government or your state governments. It's also provides you that sort of opportunity to work with different vendors. For instance, here in Texas, we see it a lot where like someone, in construction where you have like the big general contractor and the general contractor is, required a certain amount of the subs to have one of these types of certifications. So in the certification world, you're typically either a prime, like or tier 1 vendor, or a sub tier 2 vendor. Another option is you can partner up with businesses and form a joint venture, but there's a lot of great reasons. And sometimes you really can't see all of the benefits of it until you sort of get certified and start, bidding on jobs and starting to make those connections. Because you'd be surprised. I mean, I've seen people, little tiny companies collaborate and get really great work, just having one of these certifications. That's why I think a lot of companies find this to be a great advantage. And if you fit one of these categories, it's worth exploring, especially depending on what state you're in, because there's state advantages as well. So Camille, do you want to talk a little bit about like, what does it mean to be certified?
So, this is a really interesting topic because a lot of, not only if you're certified, but for example, a lot of women-owned businesses like to work with other women-owned businesses. So it can open up opportunities that way as well with the certifications. But you have to be careful because it's not just the ownership of the business. So I'm going to use women-owned businesses since we're all women here on the on the podcast. But if your business is 51% owned by a woman and 49% owned by her husband, if the husband is controlling all of the decisions and the wife is a silent partner, you're not going to meet the threshold because the woman actually has to control 51% of the business. And so that's where a lot of businesses who start to seek out certification start through the process and realize that they're not meeting that control threshold, which I think is overlooked when people get excited about becoming certified. And the same goes for like a veteran-owned or a minority-owned business. Not only do you have to have 51% ownership, but you have to have that control aspect as well. And so once you get past whether you qualify or not, you need to consider what type of certification you may need. And Susan, I know you do a lot of this in your office. And so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We work with a lot of businesses that are interested in becoming certified. We have a lot that already are certified, but when they come to us and they're saying, hey, I think I want this certification, no one knows where to start. Or they might think they know where to start, but they're really not sure. The reason for that is there are any number of agencies that you can get certified with. In fact, we have a number of clients that have, 10, 20, 30, 50 certifications across the country, depending on if they are in different municipalities and states and all of that. So where do you begin? And generally, when we're talking to our businesses that are interested in certification, we say, well, what do you think you're going after? What is that work you think you're going to get? And you start there and you move on from there. So for example, if you're going to be going after corporate work, you want that Google contract, or that, you want to become, a Target vendor or whatever that might be, then that is going to be one of your main national organizations, depending on what category you fall in. So you were talking about the women-owned business. There's a 2 or 3 different certifying agencies. The biggest one is WeBank, and that's the one that most people go to. There's also a different certifying agency for minorities, for veterans, for now, like I said, the LGBTQ certification. So that's if you're going to go with the corporate angle. Now, if you're going to go government, state government, or you want to get into aviation, or you want to get into the hotel industry, or the hospital, I meant not hotel, the hospital industry, those all have their own different types of certification as well. So that's why you start racking up the different certifications, and you start with where you want to go. And the reason for that is the first application takes the longest. Once you get approved by one, then there's an expedited process generally through the rest. So you can then go faster through the subsequent certification processes. But the important thing is to understand, who do you want to do business with? And maybe you say all of them, all of the above. Okay, great. Where do you want to start? Where do you have the contacts? Where do you think you're going to go first? Because it's not the easiest process. There's a lengthy application. You've been through it, Trisha, right? Do you recall what that application process looks like, and all the documents that they ask for going through that application?
Yeah, I mean, it's lengthy. There's an interview. This isn't just something you can paper up. Like, you certainly are going to have have, all your ducks in a row. Actually, it reminds me of everyone trying to get the the loans through the COVID pandemic, and like having to get all that paperwork to get people are like, where are my bank statements for whatever? Like, just trying, or maybe not even get the loan, but maybe getting the loan excused. But I mean, yeah, you're going to like need to go through and get like, the detailed stuff that could go on all the way back from copies of checks that, you used to open, your original bank accounts, information related to the signature card of your bank account, maybe like, key contacts. There's going to definitely be like referrals of people backing up that you are the person in control. And, sometimes they want more information than you feel comfortable giving, frankly, about like the type of work you do, how much money you make. I think at some point they wanted to see a P&L or something. I mean, it just was like endless I was a little surprised, but, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more detailed than I kind of thought it would be. And I don't know, Susan, you do a lot of this work, but like, why isn't there just one certification? Because it's like crazy. There are so many certifications, and it just seems like, if you're a woman-owned business, you could be the woman-owned business in the same cities and states. And it's just kind of strange. And I think it is a confusing process because, like Susan said, you could go get certified. Like here, there's like the city of Houston has their own certification, and then, the state, and then these federal levels, and then WeBank and everything. So I think it can be a little confusing knowing where to go first. So it's good that people like Susan are out there to try to help figure it out. But I don't know why there's not just like one that could be like the same certification across the nation. Everyone just recognizes it. But that's probably just asking too much of our governments, right? So
Well, a lot of it has to do with the requirements. So the government versions are what they call disadvantaged business enterprises, and it goes beyond having ownership and control. It has revenue caps and personal net worth caps. That's when you're going for one of those applications, that's when people really start to get squirmy about the information that they have to provide. And so it's really just has to do with the standards and the money. What are the rules that the money's tied to? A lot of these, or these programs are tied to, I should say, that have these different bases to them, and that's why there's so many. But a lot of states, for example, here in Illinois, there's these catch-alls, right? Not a catch-all may be the wrong word, but you can apply to one place and you'll get 5 or 6 certifications as a result of that one filing, but it doesn't cover everything. So we try to go that route when possible. But you have to know what you're doing too. You have to know where to apply, to be careful. You don't ever want to get denied. You get denied, then a lot of applications ask, have you ever been denied? It's a red flag, right? So you don't want to get denied. So we'll do appeals. A lot of times what we're doing is appeals from people that thought it was easy and did it on their own, and they got rejected because of some simple, silly little thing in their documents. And then we have to go through the appeal process. But yeah, it's those applications are tricky and they are detailed, and you have to get it right or you could be denied. You could upload the wrong document on accident, or you could answer a question incorrectly and you will be denied. So make sure you're doing it the right way. You're uploading the right documents. You're asking questions. A lot of times it asks for things with the wrong terminology, right? Like it'll ask for a document that only applies to a corporation, but you're an LLC and you don't have one. Or you think you have to have it, but really you could just answer, I don't have it, and move on. So they can be trickier than you think. A lot of clients come to us when they started it and never finished, and they just needed help to get through. So, but once you get through, then the world changes. Then you're certified, and now you kind of have all of these opportunities for you. I mean, Camille, do you want to talk at all about kind of what that looks like once you're certified? And
well, I mean, I think that once you're certified, you are opened up. I think Trisha kind of said it best early on. For example, general contractors often have a quota they have to meet, especially if they have contracted with a government entity of minority and disadvantaged businesses that they have to work with. I know the federal government has those such contracts. I know state governments and local governments all have those. But I think it goes further than that, because I often find that once a business is certified, they want to work with other businesses of the same certification, because those businesses are really going through the same thing together and they want to support each other. And so I think that's, one of the great things often about the certification. As I said, women-owned businesses want to support women-owned businesses. Black-owned businesses want to support Black-owned businesses. LGBTQ businesses want to support those. And the general public often wants to support those businesses as well. And so having that certification gets you on a website sometimes, and people can actually go and see, like if they want to buy shampoo, which beauty products are women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses or veteran-owned businesses, and they use their purchasing power to buy from those businesses.
Right, absolutely. It can go beyond just getting those government and corporate contracts. It can be a part of just really banding together. And also, Trisha brought up joint ventures. Joint ventures are also an interesting way to go about it, because a lot of these entities have different buckets. So they might say 20% of the project has to go to certified entities, but of that 20%, 12% has to go to minority-owned businesses, and 5% has to go to women-owned businesses. And there's tiers to it, so it's not all 20% goes to one category. So a lot of times you can join up with other certified entities that have different certification categories to get that contract, and that can be a real great way to elevate these businesses and give them that opportunity to be on the level playing field. So, as we said, there's kind of a quick overview to the world of certification. We could go on and on and on, because it can be complicated, but can also be incredibly beneficial to your business. So I guess that does it, right? So until next time on 3Bs on the Law.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast of 3Bs on the Law. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast. We also welcome any comments. If you'd like to get in touch with us or suggest a future topic, you can email us at 3THREEBsonthelaw@gmail.com. And because we're lawyers, we need to remind you that this podcast is not meant to provide you with legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.